Hey guys, Space here, bringing you another video. Here is my pre-draft season predictions for the Cowboys for 2016. So, this prediction video will assume that everyone remains healthy and that everyone finishes out the season okay. No hiccups, no nothing. Everyone's healthy. I cannot guarantee it because, of course, my prediction video from last year is a bit skewed, especially since it was nearly a reverse of the record. But anyways, this is my personal opinion. You may disagree with it. That's your decision. So, these are my pre-draft predictions on how the Cowboys are going to fare in 2016. So, a recap of last year. The Cowboys suffered a lot of injuries, which hindered especially the offense. The reason the Cowboys could not do anything is because their offense became stagnant because it relied too much on Tony Romo, and we didn't utilize a Darren McFadden running game as earlier as we thought because of Randall, doing his business. So, the defense played relatively well, and to be fair, the reason it buckled late in the game was because the offense could not finish out the game. So, with that being said, the Cowboys have not done what they've done in free agency is just fill holes to ensure that we don't have to freak out about needs and stuff. However, the draft is going to solve that. How the draft plays out will definitely impact how the Cowboys are going to fare in 2016. Of course, I have my own opinions on what they should do in the draft, as you saw in my draft video. But some my opinions have been changing, and I don't know what we're gonna do. But anyways, with that being said, guys, let's get this started. So we're gonna start out with the Giants. So again, they might as well just make this every year. I mean, like, this happens now, like, constantly. I have the Cowboys winning that game. The reason why is sure, the Giants have an improved pass rush and stuff like that. The problem is that, and again, I'm gonna assume these teams, also on pre-draft as well. The Giants don't really have that great of an offensive line, and they don't have a great running game. And Eli Manning tends to make mistakes because he has no running game to rely on, and the only receiver that I've seen him rely on is Odell Beckham Jr. and sometimes Ruben Randle. However, we all know that the Giants, even though they paid a lot and they upgraded their pass rush, in my opinion, did the Giants do good in free agency? Well, that depends. They upgraded the right pieces, but for too much money. That's the problem. I wouldn't have been, like, if I'm the Jerry Jones or the general manager, and we sign Oliver Vernon for well like a smaller contract, but it's still relatively steep. I could live with that, but the money they're paying him is a lot and comparable to J.J. Watt, but Vernon, like, these players they picked up are not, they're upgrades, but they're not substantial upgrades. But the Giants' pass rush should be improved, but I'm not sure how well it's going to be improved. With that being said, I expect the Cowboys to land a win at the beginning of the season. Then we have to travel to the Redskins, so we're starting with two important divisional games to start the season. I have the Cowboys winning that game. Reason because, of course, we have Tony Romo back, the running game. I could go on about the same thing. The problem with the Redskins, their defense is suspect. Their offense is decent. They're more of an average team nowadays, but that's because the problem is that even though they're average, Kirk Cousins needs to improve going into his next year as being the starter. If not, this team could falter and they might need to look for a quarterback. Them franchise tagging Kirk Cousins he could end up being the Nick Foles of the Redskins. Like, he does amazing the first year, and then the next year he kind of has a bit of a drop off, and then he progressively gets worse. I don't know about that, but however, the Redskins are going to be outmatched here, and we're going to end up a win here. Then we have to face the Bears at home. This is a win. The Bears are just completely flustered. They still have Jay Cutler. They have a ton of questions on offense. Their defense is extremely questionable. The Cowboys, with their powerful offensive line and running game, assuming that Darren McFadden and Alfred Morris can do what they do best in those power run style that kind of style of running, we could shove the run game down the Bears' throat. The defense should be able to handle the Bears' offense, and we should end up with a win there. Then we have to go to Levi Stadium to face the 49ers. We got to win there because the 49ers are a complete wreck. I can't express that any further. They lost so many pieces. They have Chip Kelly as their head coach now. They haven't made any improvements in the offseason that are, that are remarkable or anything. And depending on how they do in the draft, even if they hypothetically get a quarterback, they still don't have the pieces offensively to match the Cowboys here offensively and defensively. I expect the Cowboys to show dominance in this game and defeat the 49ers pretty easily. Then we have the Bengals at home. This is where we're going to have our first loss of the season. As much as I want to say that the Cowboys have the firepower to, keep up with the Bengals are a really well-rounded team. Their head coach is really consistent, questionable in the playoffs, but the Bengals are going to be continually, consistently good, and I expect us to lose here. Now, to be fair, the AFC North is going to be this is going to be a tough challenge. So I don't know exactly how this is going to turn out with the AFC North because the Bengals I see as a definite loss. Now, with our last game before the bye week, and the bye week is perfect. It's extremely perfect and very well placed right in the middle of the season where it's most favorable. Before that, we have to go to Lambeau Field to face the Packers. The Cowboys' defense did really well last year holding the Packers before they unleashed the floodgates because the offense couldn't do anything. So, with the Cowboys' offense and an improved defense, which held the Packers for the most part at 14 points until the whole, end of the game, I believe that the Cowboys can land a win here. They can land a win here, but this is one of my toss-up games because I don't know what of course, the Packers can, sorry, I understand that the Packers have offensive firepower and they still get Jordy Nelson back and all this other stuff. However, seeing how the Packers did against the Cowboys defensively last year, I mean, I have to give the win to the Cowboys on that regard. Then we have our bye week. We're sitting at 5-1, very favorable. And keep in mind that if you look at the schedule in the beginning, it's relatively easy. We have 2 playoff teams, well, 3 if you count the Redskins. But anyways, so we technically have to face 2 really good playoff teams, and 5-1 would be very favorable. And sitting at 4-2, which that would be pretty good too. So we're going to go with the best case scenario for now. So we're sitting at 5-1 best case scenario. Then after the bye week, we're going to land a win against the Eagles because we'll be well rested. And the Eagles, they have question marks all over the place. They have an aging offensive line. Their defense is relatively average to good, so that could cause problems. But I expect the offensive line to hold up, and this could be a very close game, and we'll end up pulling out a victory. So next, we're going to be going to the Browns, and of course, that's going to be a loss because no, I'm just kidding. That's going to be a win because the Cleveland Browns again have question marks on every single position. They haven't made any efforts to help improve the team rather than just sit and hope that the draft will do so and do so well. Yeah, well, do so well. basically the Browns are dysfunctional. I understand they have Hugh Jackson as their head coach, but that's not a very good enough firepower to take on the Cowboys, especially offensively. And I mean, they lost Josh Gordon, and they have no really good. They don't have any good weapons at receiver. Quarterbacks, everything's questionable. I could go on and on. Next, we got to go to the Steelers. This is where I'm handing us a loss. The Steelers and Cowboys are very similar, very high power offenses. However, will win healthy, and defenses that are very questionable. I expect this to be a shootout, and I expect the Steelers to come out on top. Unfortunately. Next, we have the play of the Ravens. I'm gonna land us a. I believe this is gonna be a trap game. I'm gonna hand us a loss here. The Ravens tend to play tough against very good opponents. I understand that their defense is not as good as it used to be, and their offense not very bad. But I'm viewing this as a trap game, so we're gonna set it 7-3. Then we have to face the Redskins at home. I'm gonna land us a win here because, like I said earlier, with the Redskins, very average compared to the Cowboys. Then we have to go to the Vikings. I'm gonna hand us a loss there. The Vikings. Very, 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 very powerful defense. Uh, their offense is emerging, and with Adrian Peterson playing another year, and Teddy Bridgewater developing into a really well quarterback, I expect the Vikings to match up against the Cowboys pretty well and do what the Cowboys do, run the ball, and pretty much the Vikings are going to beat the Cowboys. Short answer. Then the Cowboys have to travel to face the Giants. I'm sorry. The Cowboys have to go face the Giants. I'm landing us a win here. As I said earlier, as much as the Giants have improved their pass rush. However, they didn't do it enough to the point where they can they were desperate to contend with Dallas's offensive line, and considering the fact that they might replace they hypothetically could have replaced Doug Free with a very good right tackle or an average one that's young. The Giants got desperate, and they didn't spend money to try and improve their offense, or very little to improve their offense. However, the Cowboys have improved. I guess you could say they patched up around the place and try to retain cap space for when we have to pay up the bill for the offensive line. So with that being said, we're gonna win. We're gonna sweep the Giants, and we're gonna sweep the Redskins. Then we're going to face the Buccaneers, and assuming that everyone is healthy, I'm gonna land us a win here. Because the Buccaneers, as they are improving, I expect them to be in a wild card contention spot because of that emerging offense and that defense beginning to do something. However, because they fired Lovie Smith, I'm very questionable on how this Buccaneers squad is going to mesh, because as the chemistry was shown, going from 2-14 to 6-10 is amazing. It's a very good job on the Buccaneers' part, and I would say, as a bold prediction, the Buccaneers land a wild card spot. I believe that they are the second best team in the NFC South, and of course the Panthers are the best team. And I can see them landing a wild card spot. I wouldn't be surprised one bit. Then we have a Monday night matchup against the Lions. I expect the Cowboys to get a win here. The Lions lost Calvin Johnson. Their defense has lost Ndamukong Suh. They don't have a lot of weapons available to them. Running game's questionable. Offensive line questionable, but not bad. Defensive line average. That defense is pretty average. However, I expect the Cowboys to win. Then I'm going to say that the Cowboys lose to the Eagles to close out the season, but that won't matter. I expect the Cowboys to win the division at 11-5, and I could see them winning a playoff game, but depending on who else is in the playoffs, I could only see them winning in the first round at most. Um, So that's my best case scenario. We go 11-5. Now for my worst case scenario, let me go back. So I would still say we beat these. I would say that we would lose against the Packers. We would I wouldn't say we lose against the Redskins. I would say we would lose again. Well, I would say that we could possibly lose against the Redskins at their place, and uh, I guess I could see a loss. Splitting with divisional foes. So, I mean, worst case scenario, the Cowboys are 8-8 in my scenario, in my belief, but I'm gonna switch them back if I could find them. There we go. And so I believe the Cowboys will go 11-5 and possibly win a playoff game, but I doubt it. I would say that they win the division and possibly lose in the first round. It all depends on who they go up against. So I can't really make that like assertion they're going to win a playoff game, go to the conference championship, Super Bowl, whatnot. Right now, all I could say is that the Cowboys, they could just manage another NFC East title and a possible wild card win. But other than that, that's all I can manage. I mean, this team can contend in the NFC as long as Tony Romo is healthy. I mean, I think 11-5 is a very good best case scenario, and 8-8 a very plausible scenario with this Cowboys squad. However, if Tony Romo is to go down, do not expect them to go 8-8, 11-5. If Tony Romo is to go down, I expect this team to go 5-11, 4-12 if Tony Romo gets hurt, and possibly him retiring at the end of the season with all those injuries. And that's the best I could say. I mean, if the Cowboys take a quarterback, that could be different, and I could do a scenario in the post draft predictions saying that if Tony Romo goes down, what might happen. But this is what I'm going to stick with. Best case scenario 11-5, most likely scenario, and worst case scenario 9-7, 8-8. So with that being said, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Feel free to put your opinions in the comments. Just be as respectful as possible, and I'll talk to you guys later.